It is here, another great installment of Younger Life Live. Hi, I am Rick Federici.
And I am Mary Anthony.
Wow, it is another great day to be here with the show. We have had some unbelievable shows over the last several weeks.
I know we have. It's been so much fun.
It has been.
You know,
I
it's
have
so much
learned
fun.
so much, and I'm calling Sue just so you know. Now, what were we saying? Snapping with Sue. What were we?
Snacking with Sue.
Snacking with Sue.
We're going to have Sue in, apparently March is National Nutrition Month, which is
Awesome.
something else I learned and
Awesome.
didn't know. So we are going to be, Sue Klebeck is the heart patient we've had on numerous times.
Sure,
I
sure,
just
sure.
love her. And she, just the other day we were doing the hands-only CPR with her at the hospital. She brought a little snack for us to taste. It was fantastic. She calls them energy balls is what she calls them, but they are a little peanut butter.
I just like saying that word. Balls.
I know it's just funny. But they're fantastic. So she's going to come in March and going to actually bring the ingredients and the recipe and going to make them for us because they're fairly quick.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought it would be fun if you and I did our own little healthy take on a snack. So that'll be coming up soon in March. But yeah, Sue's awesome.
And I would love to, if
they hear me
you're
now?
cool with this, maybe we can ask Sue the next time she comes in. I want our own Younger Life live doll. Like the dolls that we were doing
Oh, like
CPR on
Annie?
the other day over at IU Health Laporte
Yeah,
Hospital. Thanks to
yeah.
our tech crew for the on-site production and all the
Absolutely.
fun stuff, which I think is great. So we're in Studio One.
Right.
Here at Girard Media's WIMS, the radio flagship station for Younger Life Live.
Mm-hmm.
So youngerlife.org/live right now to see some of the visuals. We're going to roll through some of our brand new cameras that look better in here.
Yeah,
it looks
it's
killer.
so nice. I love the lights are fantastic.
I thought you would like. All right, so we've got some new camera shots for you, but we also have another studio setup, which we've been to. We call
Right.
it Studio B.
Right.
And it's off of Lincoln Way in LaPorte, Indiana, which I absolutely love. So I just want to throw this out there because I think it's really, really cool that we have Mayor Blair Milo from LaPorte, and this is going to be absolutely wonderful
Right.
to have her aboard. So let's throw on our headsets.
Okay.
And for those folks that are doing their thing, we're going to crank over and see some of the other cool stuff. Mary, are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm loving this more than anything. All right. Let's see if she's with us. Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely and talented Mayor Blair Milo.
Good
Woo!
morning.
How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fantastic. How are y'all?
You
Oh, we're
know,
doing good.
we are doing great. So thank you for taking this time. We know you have a crazy schedule, Mayor Milo, but I have to tell you, it is so great to have you aboard. You are the epitome, as we were talking about, of fitness in our backyard, LaPorte County, and especially you being the mayor of LaPorte. So let's chat a little bit about yourself. Let's tell our WIMS listeners on the radio side, and of course, Younger Life Live, a little bit about Blair Milo, the mayor of LaPorte, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. I am the mayor of LaPorte, also known as the Hub of Awesome, and I'm really excited to be starting my second term this year. That this will then be 5 years that I've been in office, and we have an amazing team across the community that I get to work with that I am just so thrilled to be able to spend day in and day out with. But some of my background, very briefly, I was active duty Navy before I stepped into this role with the community, and I spent 2.5 years aboard the USS Mason as the anti-submarine warfare officer, and then the electrical officer, and then I served at the Destroyer Squadron 50 based out of Bahrain, and we spent about half our time between Bahrain and Iraq. And then I finished up my active service at the Pentagon, that I served as a DDG 1000 requirements officer first. That's a new stealth destroyer that the Navy is building, and then I served as an admiral's aide to the director as well as then the special assistant.
You know, I was just going to say, we don't have to do anymore. We're done. Show's over, Mayor.
fantastic.
It is really great. And you know, we are so fortunate here in our backyard, the Younger Life Live crew, to have Mayor Milo on board. Young, hip, energetic, and you're always doing something new and unique to keep the healthy fitness side of life going. Mary, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to chat with the mayor just for a moment. I want to throw out, I'm going to say 2 words to you, Fitness Friday. And I want you to chat because I want you to kind of expand on what you have created with a wonderful team of community professionals
Right.
here for us, of course, year after year. Let's chat a little bit about that, Mayor Milo, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Absolutely. Well, it's been so wonderful to have the community partners of IU Health, LaPorte Hospital, the LaPorte County Family YMCA, and General Insurance Services that have been such huge supporters of the program. And we started it this actually will be our 5th year. So we are planning to embark upon yet another season this year. It is a program that we wanted to encourage folks to be active and enjoy the community and just kind of get to know one another a little bit more too. So every Friday afternoon at 4:15 p.m. in front of the YMCA, we meet to go up to a 5K distance. People can walk, run, skip, jump, whatever it is that they feel comfortable doing. Folks bring strollers and scooters and dogs, and some of the kids will bring their smaller bikes too. And a couple years ago, we added a cycling component as well, that the Maple City Cycling Club has partnered with us, so that then they head off on kind of their own route, but they start with us at 4:15. And it's all to, like I said, encourage folks to be out and active. And there's a free t-shirt that folks are able to earn from joining us. And the whole program is entirely free. That we wanted to make sure that there were no barriers for anybody who might be interested in being a little bit more active and getting to spend some time with people in the community. That it's been such a blessing to see how this has grown, not just in the sort of health aspects that we were wanting to encourage, but just the positive momentum that is created throughout the community. And we're looking to continue involving more downtown businesses in the program.
Yeah.
And this year, we're very excited that we're going to be able to include a special sort of bicentennial component that we'll be excited to roll out as the time gets a little bit closer to the season. And we're looking to start this year on April 15th. And we'll be rolling throughout the spring, summer, and most of the fall. And when the weather starts to get a little questionable in October, then we'll wrap it up for the year. And so I think October 21st is the closeout of the 2016 season. But really excited to get that program rolling again this year.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's just such a unique program, and it's fabulous for the whole community. I'm curious to know, what was the initial response from the community members? Did you have many participants? Were people really open to it or kind of just hesitant? And has that changed since the beginning?
Great question.
It has just blown my mind throughout the entire process. That the initial concept started that I had seen another community that did something that they did 5K Fridays. And I thought, well, that seems like a fairly simple project to be able to put together, and I like to run, and so maybe somebody wants to come with me. And that was our first year of the program that I started talking a little bit about this idea, and immediately had great partners in the YMCA and IU Health LaPorte Hospital that wanted to be a part of the program overall and said, how can we help? And I was so glad to have their involvement in the planning discussions that like I said, I just thought, well, maybe somebody wants to come with me for a run on Friday afternoons. And thankfully, we had these plans ahead of time that perhaps there might be a few people that wanted to actually come and do this, because the amount of people that have come has so far exceeded my expectations of where I thought this program was going to go. I thought, it might be a small group of us. And we've had some Friday afternoons that we've had probably upwards of 300 people that have come out.
Incredible.
That really is.
Wow.
It's just been amazing. And it always depends on the weather, and it surprises me each time that we have some of the more inclement weather days that either it's really hot or it's rainy, and lightning is the only thing that'll stop us from going.
Right.
So we'll run in the rain, we'll run in the heat, and we still have a steady group that'll come every Friday and want to be a part of things. And I think also having it be a routine Friday event has been helpful, so that then if some people can't make one Friday, then they know there's always another week following up that they'll be able to come out. And by doing it routinely, it's helping to ingrain this sort of culture and behavior of being involved in activity in the regular routines.
One of the things I want to throw out there, so we've got the folks that take it seriously, that are getting out there to get on the groove with the mayor and all these fun folks. But, note that, as the mayor will point out to you, and I'll let her explain, there are folks that go there and they do their run and they're in it to, to hit it hard.
Yeah.
Then there are other folks that are out there that are walking. And I know you have added levels to it, Mayor Milo. Can you chat a little bit about that? Because, you've got families that may bring their young ones that are maybe walking or pushing a stroller. You've got other folks that may be walking. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Well, that's been one of the really fun dynamics to see evolve, that it has not turned into any one specific category of an activity that you would have those people that are out to win it, that certainly have that crowd that comes out. But I think that you find with those kinds of folks that they really just enjoy being active and being with the group of participants that they have with us and across the community. And so there's a strong sense of camaraderie amongst the really active crowd. And so it's less about going out and beat each other or any kind of competitive spirit. There's some times of a friendly rivalry there.
Right.
But right in the mix of it is, I think the bulk of everybody is really just out to enjoy a nice walk in the afternoon. We have strollers, we have people that bring their wagons, bring the dogs. And so there is just a mixture of all sorts, and people that want to go whatever distance that they feel comfortable with. And there have been folks that have started out the season saying, I just want to make it a block this week, and then next week I want to make it 2 blocks, and then the week after that I'd like to maybe make a half a mile. And by the end of the season they're easily completing the 5K. And we've been able to set out some markers along the way so that shows the distances of a half mile, a mile, and 2 miles. So it gives people some waypoints to be able to work towards. And I think it's just really been a fun environment that is not going to be something that people feel intimidated to come out and join us.
Right. I think that's a great point with the social aspect. I'm curious, on a personal level for yourself, have you always had the goal of, had a goal of healthy living, to keep a healthy lifestyle? Or has that been just the military maybe? Or has that always just been something that you've been
I think it's something I stumbled into, quite honestly.
Really?
I was never an athlete in school. I'm terribly uncoordinated. So my joke is that all I can do is run, because that's about all the high level of coordination that I can do.
Run, Mayor, run!
I love playing sports, but I'm terrible. I mean, I'm just
relate.
really
That's
bad
so me.
at all of these different hand-eye coordination type things. And so I kind of stumbled into the healthy lifestyle. And it wasn't until probably really well into my career in the military that I started paying attention to some of these different things. And it was my cousin, quite honestly, who got me into some of the longer distance running. And it was from doing those kinds of challenges that I found that I really enjoyed setting a goal for myself and working towards that goal, building a training plan, and then knowing that I could accomplish it. I mean, my background, like I said, is I've never been an athlete. I didn't really have the necessary talents to be good at any of the sports previously. And so
Me too.
I just never wanted to do it. And to now get to this point that I'm out doing, I've done a couple marathons, and right now I'm training to do a half Ironman triathlon this spring.
Hold on. What is that, Mayor? How long is that? What is that?
A half Ironman does a 1.2 mile swim, then a 56-mile bike ride, and a 13 mile run.
Holy cow.
That's a big deal.
That's like way crazy.
I'm curious though, as you said you started getting into the healthier lifestyle in the military, you stumbled into it. How about now, as you're with your career is obviously demanding, but takes up so much of your time. How do you work in that dedication, I should say, to train, especially for something like that? That's a big deal. That's a big leap. That's not just
Sure, it's tough with a demanding schedule that, and because it changes for me all the time, and I'm not a morning person, quite honestly, so I'm not one of those people that can get up every morning and go hit the gym before accomplishing the day. So I just try and work it into different parts of the day throughout the week that I can. With doing the bigger events, that when I was training for marathons, and now with the half Ironman that I'm working towards, towards, there's some pretty significant time chunks that you have to put towards some of
Absolutely,
the training elements. And so I do those on the weekends as much as possible. I now have my bike set up in my living room so that then and this was amusing. One evening I came home from a city council meeting, and I'd done some work in the office afterwards, and it was probably 10 o'clock at night that I got home. And so I got on the bike for a couple hours, and it's about midnight, and I'm on my bike, and I thought to myself, when did I become this person that's on my bike at midnight? But I was really happy with it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm curious to know if you've adopted a different diet. Have you changed the things you eat?
We want to know what Mayor Milo eats. Here's the book. It's chapter 4.
Rick and I have had a couple chefs and, always trying to learn new things and, labels and everything else.
It's tough.
It is tough. So I'm curious to know if you've altered that significantly or if that is something that's naturally changed as you've increased your own physical activity.
Well, I would say that's very much a work in progress, and that's certainly something I need to improve upon, and I'm constantly working towards. Yeah. I struggle because I don't really cook. I've just never really gotten into it, and I now can't find a whole lot of time to be able to dedicate towards things. I've tried a number of different options of the most recent being some of those mail order services that you can get the pre-planned meals delivered to your door. And what they say takes 30 minutes takes me 2 hours.
I'm so glad you said that.
Oh, it's nice to hear.
Hold on. And I got to ask this question because that was my number one question. Because I said to my wife, Norma, the other day, Mayor, I'm like, and the kids we were all together. I'm like, you know what? We can all try this as a family because we're always trying to do something different and healthier.
Right.
So number one, we know it's going to take an hour or two. Number two, I have to know this. Does it taste halfway decent, some of these? Because there are a lot of those out there. I've been doing some big research on more healthier lifestyle type eating plans. And that's the one that always pops up on Google. Always.
I think probably if you make them right, it tastes really well. I don't know that I've always been successful in all of those endeavors. And so I've made one meal that actually tasted pretty well. It took me like 2.5 hours.
Cool. We'll connect with them. Yeah, no big deal. We'll connect with the mayor coming up in a few seconds here. Listen, you're listening to Younger Life Live. I love her to pieces. She's absolutely great. Rick Federici, Mary Anthony. So we're talking with Mayor Blair Milo from Northwest Indiana. She's here right now.
Oh, good deal.
Yeah, she's jumping up. Let's bond a little bit, and we will of course keep folks updated. But one of the cool things that we want folks to know is Mayor Milo is talking about this Fitness Friday. So in mid-April, this thing will kick back into full gear.
Right. It's nice to know that that locally that gives a goal to our listeners too. That's something you can do today to begin is start planning for that. Start small around your own little block or, grab a few friends, especially a day like today. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Isn't it pretty outside?
Really
That's what I said.
It would probably be dangerous walking on sidewalks today just because of the, there's ice in spots and, it would be a little bit uneven, but gorgeous day if you can get out there to do something. But start increasing those so in a month, we're talking a month and a half only, we could start this on Fridays. I'm definitely interested. I know myself, we're south of LaPorte, so we have not participated. But I look forward to trying that with my family this year. I think it would be fun and, a good deal.
All right, cool. AM 1420, our flagship radio station, Younger Life Live. Rick Federici and Mary Anthony. We do this weekdays, 9 to 10 Central. And of course, we so love your input here. Yes. And it's just been phenomenal. Mayor Milo is such a breath of fresh air every time she is on the dial. Every time you see her speak, every time you see her perform, the energy she's just beyond phenomenal. She just exudes
well, like I said, she's a great example of what she's a great example of what she's trying to get other people to participate in. She's not just preaching it, she's doing it. She's living the healthy life. She's, like she said, her diet always being a work in progress. It's nice to hear that from someone who else it's always a work in progress trying to improve.
Who's got a crazy, cray schedule. Mayor Milo, are you with us at this point?
We're still working on it.
Yeah, they're still working on it. No big deal.
See her,
I could see her, and definitely we're going to get her back on because we got to talk to her about some other stuff.
And if anyone has questions, this is a great time for them to call in or text in.
Absolutely. In fact, if you want to call in, here's the number for you in case you're listening around the country or viewing it around the country, which a ton of you are. 219-861-1632. And of course, we have some great insight. We do have some great shows lined up before we get the mayor back on, because I don't know if folks know this, but Mayor Milo went to mass amounts of counties in the last year. And each week she did some real cool runs that we were a part of teaming up with her on.
That's really neat.
She, of course, did the runs. Yeah. We just bonded with her.
You cheered her on?
Yeah. Mayor Milo.
You cheered her on.
She was awesome. Mayor Milo,
She's
you're
with
back.
us again.
You're back and better than ever. Woo! Our tech team is absolutely awesome. Thanks to our tech crew. Okay, so Mayor Milo, when we last spoke to you moments ago, we were chatting a little bit about healthier eating. And just to kind of recap, we chatted about, okay, how can we get and wrap our arms around some of these meals? You were casually saying that, you're not the best of cooks, as I feel that I can make toast very good and certain things. It is kind of tough, but with your busy schedule, you find that that's one way. Can you kind of recap on that a little bit? And then let's delve into some of the other things that you may do to make it a little bit more easier for yourself.
Sure. Well, I make a mean bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
It's my specialty.
I'm loving that.
But I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine, actually, that I think when you focus on doing smaller portions and trying to eat regularly throughout the day and making sure you start with breakfast, that helps you jumpstart your metabolism in the morning so that then you're burning calories as efficiently as possible throughout the day. And by having those smaller meals throughout the day, then you don't get to a point that when you finally get to go and eat, then you just want to eat everything on the menu, which is typically my struggle, that because I'll get so wrapped up in something that I'm doing or going between meetings, then I'll skip meals. And then by the time I finally get a moment to go and eat something and somebody says, what would you like to have? I'll say, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Right, absolutely.
And that, I think, becomes dangerous, especially because then you get to a point that you're later in the day. And so if you eat a huge meal at that point, then you're not taking advantage of all your activity that you've done throughout the day. You haven't fueled yourself properly throughout the day. And then you're not going to burn the calories as well for that remainder of the time that you're awake for the rest of the day. So I think that just trying to maybe focus on when you eat is maybe a good first step for some folks. And then as you get into a better routine with some of those different elements, then you can continue focusing on the kinds of things that you want to eat. And maybe that's a recommendation. I don't pretend to be a full expert on this because, like I said, it's a work in progress for me too. And I think that everybody has a different method that works for them.
Absolutely.
And you just got to keep working at it.
I'm just so curious right now. We got a text message. What does the mayor eat for breakfast? I don't know if that's too personal. I'll throw out that Rick Federici does rolled oats or oatmeal, something good like that with the banana, honey, and cinnamon in it most days these days. There are some days I want to have like a chocolatey delight bowl of something, but for the most part, I'm usually in that. Do you normally have, when you say breakfast, is it a bigger breakfast, Mayor? Or I know you said smaller portions, but do you kind of throw eggs in there? What do you sample out? I'm just curious.
Well, usually if there's time, and this is, like I said, something I'm still working towards, that if I am able to get to breakfast, then a lot of times it's just grabbing a blueberry bagel as I'm headed out the door, that then I can eat on my way to whatever the first meeting is. And then I do have a variety of cereal that at least I've matured into maybe some healthier options. I used to buy them based off of what was the best toy was in the box.
I hear you. That's funny. I have a question about, actually, you said you've been in office for 5 years, or you're beginning your fifth year. When you first started, were you surprised by the statistics regarding our health, the situation of health of the entire country? Yeah, I mean, it's staggering when you really are looking it up and it's in your face. You know, and I'm sure in your position you were forced to face some of that. And is that kind of what inspired you to make, to start pulling more healthy behaviors, making them more presentable in the community itself?
I think it really kind of hit home when I started doing some work with the YMCA of the USA, that I've served on a board for the Indiana Alliance of YMCAs, that we've been working towards creating some programming that will help reduce childhood obesity and juvenile diabetes. And when you start to look at those kinds of numbers across the country, and you realize the impact this is having on our kids,
Right.
and how we're setting them up for failure by having these lifestyles that we are imposing upon kids at an early age. And so it just sets up a really poor dynamic for them making health choices throughout the rest of their life. And I want to see everyone, especially the next generation, be able to have the energy and the happiness that comes with when you're out feeling good and getting those endorphins out, and being able to reach those different kinds of goals that somebody may set for themselves, whatever they be. Maybe they've got better hand-eye coordination and want to go and be an awesome basketball player or baseball player, or maybe they're like me, that you don't necessarily have those skills, but you just want to go and be a little more active and go and run or get on a bike or whatever it is. But just having that activity overall then makes you feel so much better, and it's such a key ingredient for healthy brain function too.
Absolutely.
That's where we want to see the next generation be able to go.
Mayor, I have a question here. Melinda just gave us a text and she wanted me to ask you, which I think is a great question. Is there anyone out there that has inspired you? Because you're a very young lady. Is there anybody that's inspired you, or like a role model that you have looked up to or are watching right now from the health field, or just someone that you're like, it's really cool that this person's doing that? Anybody out there, Mayor?
I think there's a number of people that are doing some interesting things in the health field and trying to encourage folks. I don't know that I have somebody specifically on that particular area. I'll tell you, I just watched this thing on, I think it was on Netflix, that was a documentary about Misty Copeland and all the work that she's done in becoming at the top of her field as a ballerina. And I think it's just amazing to see the kind of dedication that somebody can put in towards their craft, and then especially something as physically demanding as the professional world of dance and the ballet arena, that it's just incredible the kind of effort that they put towards it and the things that they work through. And so I think that those are some of the things that people I look to. But there's just a number of amazing people that are doing incredible things.
It brings us back to goals. I mean, really,
Right.
it does.
Sure does.
It's always about just that little goal, the littlest goal. When you get there and feel that sense of accomplishment, you're ready for the next. I think, we've had so many different guests that have thrown that in, and I think that's such an important part, is setting a goal for yourself. And if you are struggling to set a goal for yourself, talk to a professional about it. I mean, we had on Dr. Leva that does, she is a health coach.
Yes.
I'm sure obviously she's not currently taking anyone, but I know that there are others. Talk to your doctor about that. I think that would be a great start. I think that's just such a good point. I love it all. I'm also curious to know, Mayor, if there's any new projects in the works at all for the community, as far as to get on track to a healthier lifestyle.
Well, we're going to have the opportunities this year with some of the projects we've been working towards for a little while to become available. That the community garden is going to open this spring, that folks are able to take advantage of. And so we're really looking forward to being able to utilize that. The farmers market in LaPorte is going to be transitioning this season, that it is going to be all produce. And they have a larger selection of vendors that are going to be selling each Saturday that they're open. Now that's not going to happen until probably later May time period. I was
going to ask if there was a date for that. So typically it's the end of May.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And then carries on throughout the summer and a large part of the fall. So we're excited about those elements. We are going to have the special piece with Fitness Friday that we're going to tie in with some of the bicentennial celebrations that we have this year. Cool. And so we're looking forward to that.
Very cool. I love that. There's just there definitely is so many different options, to be able to do. So I think that's fantastic and a good point. It gives someone a great spot to start. Choose one of these things and try to do it. If someone in the community has an idea that they would like to propose or suggest, is there a number or that they could call or a website they could email?
Well, they can always email me. I'm happy to entertain suggestions and see if there's an opportunity for us to put something forward. I would also kind of say along with that, though, is that as we've looked at programs that we've wanted to be able to take on and expand in the community, there's just a number of projects that are happening and programs that are occurring across the community. And it's not always the right home for the city to take on these
Right.
particular elements. And I would just encourage folks that if you've got something that they think is going to be a really great option for the community to get involved with, and certainly we'd be happy to partner. But I think that there's a lot more joy that can come with making something your own and saying,
Absolutely,
how can
that's-
I make this happen?
That's a great point too. I think be proactive in your own, even your block. You know what I mean? I think that's
Get
a
out
good
there
idea.
and
If you have
woo!
ideas, if you do, you have ideas, pull others in. I think that's a good idea.
Mayor Milo, I want to throw this out there to you because as we were, creatively talking about different things and healthier eating here on Younger Life Live, one of the things that I just blew me away as I met you and I got to evolve with you through the last several years, you're always just a breath of fresh air, enthusiasm, intellect. It's just an honor to have you right here in our own backyard. But the one thing I want to point out to the viewers and the listeners is something I want you to kind of elaborate on. And I know you don't, always push this kind of stuff, but I was blown away. You did how many counties about a year or so ago? Each week you did X amount of races. Talk a little bit about that and the counties, if you wouldn't mind, and kind of how that evolved, because I want folks to know you took a step and then you just ran with this thing.
Literally.
And you went across the whole entire state. Talk about that, please.
Well, and I'll be happy to remark on that. But first, I want to make sure that I think that it's always important that we encourage one another. And I so appreciate you, Rick, and everybody that has been so supportive of things that we're doing in the community and such a key ingredient in our positivity equation overall, and the growth that we've created across the community of thinking more about the good things that are happening in the city and the amazing people that we have, and really encouraging them throughout. That's what I think is creating such an amazing dynamic in our community. And I feel privileged and blessed to be able to be a part of the leadership of that. But that is very much a team concept that is happening across the community, and we couldn't do it without people like you and Mary and Paula on Wednesday mornings, and such a great team that we have across the community. But in regards to the Step Up Saturdays that we embarked upon, I think that was in 2014, that I had this epiphany over New Year's as I was trying to think through some of the things that I wanted to look at for the upcoming year. And instead of trying to change something about myself that I thought was negative, I thought, well, maybe the better focus is to try and grow something that has really done well. And in a sense of what had happened in the community with Fitness Fridays, I thought, well, what if we took this kind of a program and helped other communities try and set something up similar that would encourage their very respective populaces to look at the opportunities that come with it. It doesn't really cost a whole lot of money, and it doesn't take an intensive amount of manpower to be able to do. It just really is about setting a time that everybody in the community would be able to join up, and then marking out a route that you think is going to be workable as far as traffic and the kind of crowd that you might have, and then trying to do it routinely. And kind of to follow on with some of the previous discussion we were just having of ideas that you may bring forward, I didn't want to be that guy that goes to some community and says, I've got a great idea for you to have to do. That I wanted to help encourage folks to set something up and let them see what this could be in their communities. And so I said, well, let's set a goal of trying to do something in a city or town in every county across the state. And hopefully then the word would spread throughout that county from that one stop that we would be able to make of what the opportunities could be of creating that environment and the positivity that comes amongst the people that would participate in such an event. And so I started out, I think it was March 1st of 2014 that we started in the southern part of the state and made our way up north throughout the season. And I'll tell you, it was definitely one of those things that I was glad that I didn't know what I was getting myself
I
into.
knew
I bet.
Initially,
Wow.
but because I'd already started it, and I'm a little bit of a type A driven personality, that I was just committed to seeing it through no matter what. And so got through it by, I think it was the middle of October that we finally finished all 92 counties, and just met amazing people along the way, and had quite the adventure learning so many different things about Indiana, and the various people that I was able to convince to join me on some certain Saturdays. That the city attorney joined me one time, that I talked her into going zip lining that we found in southern Indiana.
I'll do that with you anytime, Mayor. I'll go zip lining with you anytime. I've never
would be
done that.
fun.
It was such a good time, and it's especially fun taking your attorney with you on something like that. She's like, "Oh my
Mayor
gosh,
Milo,
this is
how
just
about
such
this?
a bad
You
idea."
go first.
Yeah.
You're going first. Hey, where was that zip lining at? I'm kind of curious.
It was at Squire Boone Caverns, which was just outside Corydon, Indiana.
Oh,
Wow,
yeah. Portland's such a cool little town.
I've not ever heard that. And you know what? I look at this too with what Mayor Milo's saying to us here on Younger Life Live. She got into this particular situation, 92 counties, and think about what she just said.
That is a lot.
I don't know if I would have kind of done, kind of participated in this, but not only did she say I'm doing it, she did it, and she just kept going. The drive was there, and you know what? And that's what I say when I started riding the bike. I got to be honest with you, I fell in love with it, and I can't wait. I said my game this year, Mayor, is to not only continue with my bike because I'm using the trainer, which is way different than do my bike outside, but I want to get my mountain bike this year with the big giant tires. And and have some fun. Are you up for a cool mountain bike ride with Rick Federici and the crew, or what?
Oh, I can try and do something. I don't have a mountain bike. I've got a road bike, but I'm always up for an adventure. So if there's an opportunity to go and try something, then just as long as you don't laugh at me when I fall.
Hey, I would never laugh at you. You know, and I have to say this too, and the mayor, I like to high five her in her. Every time I talk to the mayor, and I'll say to the mayor at my age, hey, I've done this or I'm doing this. And Mayor Milo will say, great job, and I liked it because it truly is. And I say this to anybody because I do this with my daughters and colleagues and friends. You encourage them. And I don't use their compliment, but just say, way to go, keep it up. Because I'll tell you, you can have the craziest day going on. And sometimes you just want to get into that zen, whether it's walking for 10, 15 minutes, whether it's riding a bike, or whether it's staying healthy.
Whatever your method,
right.
It doesn't matter.
I have a quick question to ask you. Do you read a lot? And if you do you have a favorite book or something that kind of you could think of right now that you like? Something like a book from a book standpoint. I'm just curious.
Sure. I am a huge reader. And in fact, we started this a couple years ago, that I wanted to encourage everybody on the staff to really make sure that they were taking time to just enjoy some of what reading has to offer. And so every Monday at our department head meetings, then as we're all going around the table and giving our various reports, then I ask everybody to tell me something that they learned from reading that week. And I don't care what it is that everybody reads, that I just want to hear something that they found interesting from what they had read over the previous week. And it has been just awesome how that concept has evolved, because it allowed me to learn so much about my team and understanding some of their interests and what they were reading. And then because we're such a diverse and dynamic group, then I've learned all kinds of things that I would never particularly know, because they have different interests than I do. But I read a number of different things because I travel so much and spend a bunch of time in my car, particularly right now going down and back from Indianapolis. I listen to a lot of books on audio, and so I download them on my phone and then listen to them as I'm driving, which I find to be much more enjoyable as I'm driving down the well-worn path. And so there's just been a number of really great books that I've gotten to enjoy, especially with the listening to books on audio that then I can't necessarily get tired reading the book, and so I'll force myself into reading just about topics that I'm interested in, but maybe a little bit drier. But I've found some really great things that have been about understanding the different dynamics of our society in some of the different financial classes that have been created. And so there's a book that I read recently called Our Kids by Robert Putnam that's about some of the differences that kids have available to them in various socioeconomic backgrounds. Arthur Brooks is a favorite author of mine, that he is the head of a think tank out of Washington, D.C., the American Enterprise Institute, that he's written a book recently called The Conservative Heart that is one of my favorites, quite honestly, and I've read, I think, 4 or 5 of his books. So that's sort of the nonfiction element. But I love reading fiction as well, and if I had to pick a favorite author there, I would have to say that Paulo Coelho is probably one of my favorites. That he's best known for having written The Alchemist, which is an amazing book, but I would also say that some of his other works are just equally as great and really provoke some interesting thought processes and internal, I guess, diagnoses and introspection for folks to be able to enjoy while reading a really great story.
It's great. You have a question.
I
yeah.
have another question for you, just so to get to know you better. Can you tell us one thing that you do that people think is crazy or a little bit different that you do on a regular basis?
There's the spaz coming out in our Mary Anthony, ladies and gentlemen.
We can all relate to that, though.
Oh, to pick just one?
Yeah, I know. That's the hard part. I hear you.
That might be a better question for some of the people that are unfortunately subjected to my crazies. I don't know that I could pick just one thing. If you want to know something really weird that I do, and I don't know why I do it, for whatever reason, when I climb stairs, like I'll usually count the stairs while I'm climbing them, and I don't know why. And so
that's not a bad thing.
It's not weird. I think
like that.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's
just an odd little thing. And so I'll get to like the top of a staircase and lean over to whoever's with me. I'm like, oh, that was 65. I'm like, 65 what?
That's funny. Now that was what
So
I would say is the
cheap
weird
record.
part, because it's funny. I find myself, if I'm alone, not with my children, counting stairs. But what I think is funny is I would never tell someone next to me that I counted them.
Well, Mayor Milo just did
So
to
that's
several
what I'm
thousand
saying.
people viewing
That's
and
what
listening.
I'm saying. That's the part that I find that strange. That you tell them, I'm like, well, I'm not telling anybody. I just did that. That's
This to me though is a great scope, because when I worked for many years, 14 years, and you know this story, I worked on the 94th floor of the Hancock, Mayor Milo, for 14 years, where I did traffic, and we were on the observatory floor. There were times where they would do the challenges to raise money, and you would start at X level, and we would count the stairs, and we would, that you talk about challenging and crazy stuff. Here's a question from Leslie. Love that the mayor's on with you today. She is a phenomenal mayor. I'm from LaPorte. She wants to know, Mayor, and here's a great question: what can I do today to begin embracing health? This is what we're finding with a lot of the folks that are tuning in or viewing Younger Life Live. They just need help to jumpstart, and we know it's
Taking that first
challenging.
step,
but having
tough.
you here, so what can she do today to begin embracing health? Can you help her out on that, Mayor Milo?
Well, I'm really happy to encourage anybody that's wanting to take those kinds of steps, because I'm excited for the journey that you're going to be able to enjoy and the discoveries that you're going to find along the way. I think it all starts with just kind of thinking about, what do you want to do to be active today? Maybe it's just going for a walk around your neighborhood, and then thinking more about being able to do that walk more often, or to go for a longer walk. Maybe it's wanting to get out and go for a bike ride at some point, which may be a little tough today, but something that can be adopted later on in the spring and summer. Or going out to one of our parks. And if you've got kids, to then be able to take your kids to go and enjoy the playground at the park. And maybe if they're out playing for a little bit, you can go walk around the track or something like that at Kessling. That I think that's a place to start, to just be able to think about what's going to work with your schedule, because everybody's different, and just make sure that you're setting achievable goals for yourself. Don't want to try and set something up that I'm going to go and do an Ironman triathlon,
Right.
and
You don't
that's
wanna set yourself
that's
up
the
for
goal for right
failure.
now. That because otherwise you're setting yourself up for failure. And when you start with small incremental goals that you can reach throughout, then it's really just such an enjoyable process, because you feel so good about the milestones that you've accomplished along the way. And then as you just keep growing with it, then all of a sudden you'll find yourself that if you've been working at this for a little while, then maybe the next step is going and doing an Ironman triathlon, and that you're just excited to realize that you've been at that point. But you got to start with the small goals, and just being I think practical about what your schedule is going to allow, and the other people in your life too.
Yeah,
And I think that's another key point, to try and include friends and family in this process as well, so that then they can help encourage you throughout. And so that then, especially with family members, and maybe if you have a spouse too, that if you're turning to adopt a different kind of lifestyle, you really want to try and include everybody in that. Otherwise, it creates a whole different lifestyle for individuals and different wavelengths that you might be on, and it could create some friction. So just building that support network amongst your family is a key piece, and involving them in
Excellent
whatever
information.
activities you include.
The social component is so important, especially with your family.
Yeah.
You know, that support, you have to have it to keep going.
I'll
and
tell
to
you,
keep,
it's great
Keep
with-
achieving those little goals.
Right, and
think.
you and I both know it's tough. Well, you have 5 children, and your husband. Everybody's got crazy schedules. The same thing I find with Norma. I've involved now with the biking and different
Right.
things. It's great for couples and significant others. For those listening, as you evolve in your relationships, do something cool together and make it fun, and you could spin it at healthy wise. Hey, I have to ask you this question because I'm a music kid, and everybody knows that, and you obviously come from a musical background with your parents and yourself. I'm just curious, what does Mayor Blair Milo have on a playlist when you're working out? Do you wear the earbuds when you're biking? Do you when you're running? I'm just curious. Do you use music, and what would be on that playlist? Just curious.
Well, I have just transitioned into actually not using music anymore. And I read an article that was about how going for a long run can actually be a time of meditation, and an opportunity to be able to kind of reconnect with yourself, especially if you have a busy lifestyle. And I've really been enjoying sort of that new element into my training. And it's going to be a key component that with this new sport that I've kind of taken on with the triathlon, that you really can't have any music with you. So I've really enjoyed that opportunity to start to unwind a little bit, and to find a new level of relaxation that comes actually with the training overall. But I am a huge music fan, and I have a very eclectic taste. I'm a big fan of, quite honestly, of the symphony and classical music. But I also listen to pop. I listen to jazz, and I've probably even got some different rap songs in my playlist.
Little bit of
And
everything. I love that.
it varies on whatever my mood is at the time. I love rocking out in my car though too. So I'm sure that there's times that people will see me driving, and I am just having a big time in
Mayor Milo
Party
my
in the
front
car.
seat.
That's good. That's good though. Speaking of music, can you tell us a little bit about the Mayor's Ball?
Yes, the Mayor's Ball is coming up on April 1st, and that's not an April Fool's joke, that it really is going to happen that day. And everyone is invited to come and participate. That the proceeds go towards reducing substance abuse across the community. And we've put those towards a number of different projects and programs that work in the areas of prevention, law enforcement, and rehabilitation. And most recently, and sort of the largest donation that we were able to do was towards Frontline Foundation, which has opened a new location in LaPorte to be able to offer some different types of therapy and groups to be able to work through some of the substance
So
abuse
important.
issues. And they also work with families. So they're a very good complementary service to some of the other providers that we have in the community that we're really thankful to have be a part of our overall effort towards reducing substance abuse. And so this April 1st will be the fifth year of doing this, and one of my favorite bands of all time, the Tom Milo Big Band,
Yeah. Woo!
will be performing that evening. And so we're going to have a great time. And even though it's not an April Fool's joke that the event is happening that day, we do want to incorporate some different elements of fun that evening. So I think it's going to be a good evening. We always have a great time, that we just want to have a fun evening together and celebrate and support some good causes. And it's also the culmination of, I give the State of the City address earlier in the afternoon. And so it's exciting to be able to celebrate the things that are happening across the community and the various team members by joining the ball that evening. And so it should be a great time. And if anybody wants to come and participate, you can contact the mayor's office. My assistant, Annette, is happy to help you, and that she will be happy to talk through any of the logistics for you, and just give a call to the mayor's office.
See, that's what I love. And thank you to Annette for helping set this up.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely fabulous. On our flagship radio station, WIMS AM 1420, out of Northwest Indiana, Southwest Michigan, Mayor Milo's on Wednesdays at 7:30, 8:30 Central, depending upon the week. I want to throw this out there. Someone just said, ask the mayor best advice someone ever gave you in your life. I'm just going to
that's a
throw that
big
out there.
question.
It is, but as we wind down the
Yeah,
show,
absolutely.
it's a cool thing to ask the mayor. Mayor, we've got about a minute and a half.
Wow.
Thanks, Rick.
That's a big one.
What would you say?
I would have to say, I mean, there's a few different pieces that come, or quotes that would come to my mind that I really try to live by. And so maybe I'll try and capture just a couple of those. The first would be something my grandfather used to say to me, that he would say, if you work hard and just work a little bit to stick your neck out a little bit above the head of the crowd, somebody's going to notice you. And so I think that that's been something that I have tried to incorporate into sort of the work ethic that I have. That's really been a big part of who I am and the different things that we try to accomplish. There's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi that I actually have on a ring that I wear all the time, that is, be the change that you wish to see in the world. And that as we think about the various things that we all feel frustrated with in life, and think about then instead, how can I be a part of fixing this issue that I have an issue with, or that I have a problem with, and how can I be a part of a solution instead of tell somebody else that they need to be a part of it, or tell somebody that they're wrong or whatever. How can I be a positive force for good? And there are any number of thoughts that I have had, and with leaders that I've worked with in the Navy and learned from. I used to have many conversations with my first captain of my first ship. At the time, he was Captain Black. He is now Admiral Black. And I had the opportunity to serve with him on my first ship, as well as at the Pentagon. And he and I would have a number of discussions about political elements and things that we saw happening in Washington, D.C. And there's definitely been a theme that I can draw into the work that I do, of understanding when you have to make decisions on which battle to engage in. And I think on a regular basis, I can draw back to hearing him say, is this the hill worth dying on? And evaluating those kinds of decisions. That I think that applies not just to the work that I do, but also relationships that I have with people, and friendships that, we're imperfect people. And so is this the issue to ruin a friendship over, or to continue to have an argument with somebody over? And probably not. And so I think those are some of the key elements. I do have that voice in the back of my head that I had an executive officer, again on Mason, my first ship, that used to say, we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And so there's been a few times that I've been able to identify what some shortcuts would be to something, and then I can still hear XO in the back of my mind saying, we do the right thing because it's the right thing that we do or to do. And it's just like, XO, now you're going to make my life harder again because I have to do the right
There is a
thing.
new logo. There is a new little motto for the mayor of LaPorte, Mayor Blair Milo. We should put that on T-shirts. Come on, I like this.
I think that's a fantastic
It's
thing.
awesome.
And I mean, clearly you are not just an advocate for a healthy lifestyle, but an example of one. And I know I find that inspiring, and I'm sure many others do. And I hope that our listeners will take that first step. Spend 10 minutes doing something for yourself today.
You're awesome. Mayor, we're going to wrap it up right
Thank you
now.
so much.
And thank you so much. You have been just a breath of fresh air. We love having you on. Thanks for all that you do for our community, and keep up the great work. And we'll see you on the ride. We'll see you on the run. And I can't wait to connect with you on the outside with family and friends. And Fitness Friday, again, just to recap, is coming up April 15th, right?
Correct, April 15th. And thank you so much for the invitation, for everything that both of you are doing in our community with encouraging the message of health for everyone and positivity overall, that we couldn't do any of the things that are happening without the two of you. So thank you for everything.
And that's
Have
a
a great
wrap
day.
on Younger Life Live. I'm Rick Federici.
I'm Mary Anthony.
And you're listening to AM 1420 WIMS
Thank
Michigan
you.
City, a Girard Media company. Let's connect with CBS News.
Economist Ryan Sweet.
The job market's tightening, wage growth is accelerating,